all of these tools that I'm going to talk about today really help you find your center so that you can keep pursuing your life's biggest dreams or just getting through the day.
That it sounds funny, but don't knock it till you try it. Welcome to Estrada Sisters Connect. We are your hosts. I am Patricia Estrada.
And I'm Veronica Estrada.
And today we're continuing the series on all the things you can do at home to support your mental health and keep your joy, because we know that seeing a therapist or a life coach once a week is not enough. And maybe you're not ready, and that's okay. So this is going to be part one of a two-part episode. Stay tuned for next time, where we'll be talking about crystals, CBD, and essential oils. Today, Veronica is going to be telling us about her experience with sage, with binaural beats, and forest bathing. Veronica, why don't you go ahead and get started with telling us about saging?
Thanks, sis. Yeah, so I guess I want to also start with I am super focused on doing anything that can change my physiology, like my biochemistry. If I'm feeling some type of way, feeling stressed out or anxious or afraid, all of these tools that I'm going to talk about today really help calm you down and bring you back and help you find your center so that you can keep pursuing your life's biggest dreams or just getting through the day. So with sage, I can't remember how I started or why, but I heard about it somehow, some way to clear the energy in your house. And I think it was my friend Vanessa, who was a yoga teacher, and she's the one who introduced me to it. And she put me up on sage, and she was like, you have to clear the space, it cleanse the energy, because energy gets trapped in like corners or in spaces that you don't use. And it's really good to move the energy around. So this is a really big, oversized sage bundle that I got at Whole Foods. It's sustainably sourced. So my recommendation before I go about talking about sage is if you get any bundles for smudging, make sure that they're all sustainably sourced and get them from a local botanica or a spiritual shop. Support small business. We don't recommend that you get them from an Amazon, because they're not really worried about the level of, it has to be high level of sacredness or something to the plant. It has to be for ceremony is what I'm trying to get at. So anyway, it's important where you get it, and support small businesses. And if you can, maybe don't get sage because now it's been too cool for school and now all these people are buying it. So anywho, the point is that sage is a energy cleansing tool. So we use it to cleanse energy from a space in a room or your office, or from your body as well. And the other cool thing is that scientifically speaking, scientists have shown that sage can clear up to 94% of airborne bacteria. So it actually really does clean and cleanse the space. So it's not just a mind thing. It actually does clean the space.
That's so cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And it says it also releases negative ions, which also help put people in a more positive mood. So it's got a lot of really great qualities. And I'm I did some research because I wanted to share some good facts with y'all, but it also helps us, get wisdom, more clarity, and also increase your spiritual awareness. The other thing you want to know about sage is that when you are using it to smudge a room, that's what you call it when you're cleansing, is you want to have a window open. Right now, I have this window cracked open because you want to have somewhere for that negative or lower vibrational energy to go. You don't just want to light the sage and then have everything closed off. You want whatever is not for your highest and greatest good to exit, and please leave the room. Please leave the space, right? And so I typically will say something like, I'm cleansing this room. Anything that no longer serves me is leaving. Thank you, sage, for cleaning this. And there's a bunch of stuff you can look up on YouTube to teach you how to cleanse your home. But sage is a really cool and beautiful tool that I use in my morning rituals. Once a week, I'll sage the entire house, and there's a whole process to that, but won't get into it now. But it does change the energy in your room and your space and within yourself. So if you're in a bad mood, it also helps lift that, and you could just literally shake that vibe.
And before we move on to the next topic, I think you had said something about there was a test or someone came back and the next day it was still cleaner. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I read somewhere that they did show, so studies did show that it cleans 94% of the bacteria in the air. And then they checked it again 24 hours later, the same space, and it was still really clean. So sage does hold its powers, basically. I don't have the data in front of me, but we encourage y'all to do your own research and figure out, like, what science says about all these magical
Absolutely.
tools that,
Absolutely.
people have been using for hundreds and thousands of years in rituals, with all the Native Americans or just indigenous people. Like, this is part of their day to day. So we're just now being put up on game.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for saying that. And yes, we encourage you all to definitely do your own research. These episodes are very, very short for a reason. We're always, like we've said in many episodes, we're just scratching the surface on this, to get you guys curious, to get you to introduce you to these subjects and just talk about our own personal experiences. So definitely check it out now that we've mentioned it, and I'm sure you've heard it in many other places. We're not, again, I've said also this before, this is nothing groundbreaking, this is just us sharing our
Hmm.
personal experiences, because we know that sometimes people only hear it from sources that don't represent them. So let's
Yeah.
move on. So the second thing
Oh,
you
wait, really quick. You can also burn like a sage incense stick. So there's
were,
other ways you can do it. And there's also like little sprays now also that are like cleansing, and they have different like things like sage or whatever else in there. So there's a bunch of really cool stuff that you can use to cleanse your space energetically.
awesome, awesome. Okay, cool. So, so that's saging or smudging. The next thing that you were going to talk to us about is binaural beats. Is that how you say it?
Binaural beats.
Okay.
Yeah, close enough.
Okay, good.
So binaural beats, I started listening to them when I heard this philosopher that I used to follow very closely, Aubrey Marcus, talking about them. He created some, and his whole thing was always about tapping into flow state and performing at a really high level. And so our brain waves are there. There's 5 different types of brain waves. And so there's different ones for different things. Like there's brain waves that are like delta are associated with deep sleep. So that's when you're really relaxed, you access your subconscious mind, and some types of meditation get you there. And then there's like other really active brain waves that are more super focused, attention to detail. You're like, when you're like in the zone at work, when you sort of get into this mode. So then your brain waves are at another level. So binaural beats help our brain get into certain types of activity. So sometimes when I was in banking and I had a really gnarly meeting with a client that upset me and like didn't make me happy, I would, it's important to listen to binaural beats on earphones, AirPods, whatever it may be, but they're way more effective if you have them actually in your ear. So I would listen to something that was calming or soothing, because then I'd have another client meeting and I didn't want to show up with that low vibration or that angry vibe, like you could feel people's energy. So binaural beats really helped me sort of cleanse my energetic state. And then I also use it a lot with for example, healing. Like when I was healing like a broken heart, there's a love frequency, there's DNA miracles, there's transformation, there's a lot of different types of binaural beats out there. And I do follow this guy who's an actual a doctor, and he creates playlists for different types of healing. So it's on Spotify. You can find them really for whatever you want. Like if you want to be more on point at work or focus on your homework or your studying, there's binaural beats for that. And there's binaural beats for helping you sleep. And so there's a whole gamut of things that you can explore, but we'll, put some examples in the show notes, and you can, have fun with it. And it's like, it's not music. It's more just kind of like white noise. It's just sounds. And there's not a lot of clinical research behind it yet. It's still pretty sparse, but again, these are just tools that have been out there that we you can feel the change in your body and that I've been using for a long time. So we wanted to bring those to your attention.
Yes, yes. And you just said that you would use it to raise your vibration because of let's say you had a bad client meeting. And that just reminded me of the last episode we did where we are talking about using affirmations to raise your vibration because the people subconsciously can tell. So
Mm-hmm.
these are all tools that build on each other. These are things that you can use all together. You can use some, you can use all. That's why we talk about all these things, because we want to give you as many options as we can, because they're all things that we have personally used. So thank you for telling us about those. And then the last thing that you're going to talk to us about, which I find super interesting, is forest bathing. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, forest bathing is a practice that started in Japan, where that population typically has a really high, a very unfortunate high rate of suicide due to being stressed out about work or overworking themselves. And I think they're actually the only population also that has like death by work, like where they literally work until they die. So in Japan, they started this practice for people who were highly depressed or stressed out or anxious, where patients would go out into a forest and just be completely immersed by the green trees, nature, birds, and just be fully, again, like almost taking a bath in the forest with the green and just the calm sense that you get from when you're out in like a park, and that showed to to decrease their levels of stress, anxiety, lower blood pressure, like all these metrics that really matter in our physiological health, right? That were really elevated when they were at work or not in forest bathing mode. So it's a practice that is super easy to access if you are, anywhere near a park or, really like a park is really a good place, or go to a botanical garden near you or a meditation garden near you, and just wherever you feel yourself like completely surrounded by trees
Mhm.
and green, like that really can help decrease your levels of stress, like decrease your levels of cortisol, like all the things that really are kind of like the opposite of like the high stress environments that a lot of us find ourselves in our day-to-day work and lives.
Yeah. I mean, even I myself can think about, there's like a neighborhood close to me that has a lot of trees. And so even just going there, again, we always go back to things that you can do at home or things that you can do for free. So,
Mm-hmm.
taking care of your mental health does not have to be pricey. And so this is definitely one of those things that is extremely useful, that it sounds funny, but don't knock it till you try it. I know for sure that I feel better when I go out into nature. And I never thought about doing that consciously, but I have been in tune with my body enough to where I notice now the difference between when I go for a walk up to Fiesole, which is the hills up here, and there's a lot of trees on the way up there, or when I go for a walk more towards the center. There's a difference for sure in my vibration.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, sister. I mean, again, we're scratching the surface with all of these episodes. If you guys want to hear more about anything in particular, definitely feel free to send us a DM. Send Veronica a DM about these ones, but but honestly, you can always feel free to DM us or just like request things. We definitely have some episodes lined up for a while, but we definitely want to keep listening to what you guys have to say, and we hope that you found this helpful. Please let us know if you use any of these already, or if this inspired you to use any of these, and let us know how it goes. Make sure you share it with your friends, with your family, and that's it. That's all.
Thanks, everyone. Have an awesome day.
Thank you. Bye.